Moved by Councillor Rieger, seconded by Councillor Mackay. A closed session meeting was held. One item was on the agenda, Section 239, Sub 2, Sub D, labor relations or employee negotiations. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Next item on the agenda is the budget presentation. Treasurer? That'll be after. Welcome, Marcia. Job well done. So I think Marcia's just going to go through some highlights of the budget, some of the changes that were made, and hopefully we'll be able to pass that budget tonight. Yeah. Well, he might be just outside. Thank you. The first one is the deputy clerk, and the second, it's all the deputy clerk. Didn't give us the planners. Technical difficulties. Give either one. Yes, PDF, I believe so. Okay, are we ready to go? Almost.
Okay, so on your desk, I provided everybody with the 2016 municipal budget. I'll touch that in a minute. I will just quickly touch some highlights since our last meeting on May 11th. Okay, so basically, just a quick comment here on what I did to make changes. I did add $10,000 for paving for the front entrance at the Cobden Arena, and that was due to safety purposes. I also added $22,352 in the budget for various work on the Cobden Arena. for things such as electrical work, brim filtration system repairs on rink boards. I've also added the $1,500 grant for Kyla's Kids Club in Beachburg, as well as $7,760 for Phase 2 installation at the Westmeath Arena. So those are some of the expenses that I added to the budget after our last meeting.
And the transfer to reserves as well?
Yes, I did all that, yes. So basically, in regards to the capital, if you look up on the screen, I did itemize each and the amount and each kind of capital project that will be coming out of reserves. The rest of the projects are going to be coming out of taxation. So that basically is there's a fire truck of $87,871 coming out of the fire reserve, $40,000 out of the roads reserve for Rapid Road, $325,000 coming out of gas tax for Corner View, $115,000 out of gas tax for Curline, $350,000 out of roads equipment for the Sand Dome, $47,070 out of working capital for the roads garage repairs, $35,000 out of accessibility reserve for the tourist booth, $1,500 out of the Ottawa River Power Corp for the pavilion, and $37,165 out of the Ottawa River Power Corporation for the Beachburg Arena accessibility project that they're working on, as well as $30,000 out of the Ottawa River Power Corporation reserve for the Beachburg Aquifer study.
Any questions? Councillor Olmsted?
Just one question on the gas tax. So is that coming out of previous year's gas tax?
Yes.
That's only, okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I will show that in, I will discuss the levy in more detail when I present the budget, but basically we needed, in order to balance the budget, we needed $309,858. And that then brought us to a 7.2 levy increase from the 2015 amount. But out of that, 1.2%, so basically, if we take off the 1.2% additional levy growth, that leaves us with 6% for costs, and that was 5.41% for the police cost, as well as 0.59% for other general expenses.
So that's, we're passing on the whole OPP increase to the ratepayers because it, if you don't, the following year there will be another increase, and to take it out of reserves to offset those costs, even though you're taking it out of reserves for capital expenses, you're still offsetting those costs. So it becomes very difficult in years to come to balance the budget then. Councillor Olmsted and then Councillor McLaughlin.
With your history in the municipal field, what's the best way to communicate that to our taxpayers? Is 7.2% it's high. You hear of other municipalities doing 3s and 4s. So, but when you see 3/4 of it, or maybe more, 80% of it, is strictly due to police costing, I'd like to be very clear with the taxpayer that it could have been a 1.7, 1.9% increase if it wasn't for this police bill.
Correct. I think the best way to get that across is through the media, as well as through a newsletter going out with the final tax bill, which usually does go out with the final tax bill. And I think that's important to whatever communications that we do give to the ratepayers, that that's communicated quite clearly that the OPP cost did rise.
Oh, sorry.
5.41% of the levy increase, of the total levy increase of 7.2. Okay. Councillor McLaughlin?
That's my thoughts. Like this policing thing, like before we do any increase at all, it's a 5.4% increase, and there's not much we can do about that one at all. I'm just worried, how are we depleting our reserves? There's a lot of money came out of reserves. Where's our reserves sitting?
Okay, well, I will touch that when we go through the book that I
Okay,
gave you.
okay.
But on the front page, after the cover sheet, there is a table of contents. So if you ever do, you know, you can bring this home, keep it in your desk. At any time, you can look in, and there is the reserves. It's on page 12.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
Did you want me to touch it now, or would you like me just to
No,
go
you
through
just
it
go
as we
ahead
go?
through the
Okay.
book, because then my next question is, I want to know, as well as the tax increase, what's the increase in the water and the sewers as well?
Okay.
Because we have to watch that as well. Because we're giving them a 7-point-some% increase. How much is the increase in the water? Yeah.
So the 7.2% increase is on the levy,
Oh, I didn't realize,
but not necessarily, there's going to be a decrease on the tax rate of a 3 point, is that what I read, 3 point something?
Sorry.
Page,
Yeah, 3.91% tax rate decrease this year.
so the tax rate, so if your assessment stayed the same, which we all know that there was an increase in assessment due to the phased-in assessment, then if there was no phased-in assessment and your assessment did stay the same, you would see the decrease.
Yes.
Overall of about $21.67 per $100,000. However, depending on the growth, your phased-in value, whether or not you'll see that increase or not. But it should be pretty close. Unless you got a drastic increase in your phased-in assessment, it shouldn't. And there's no way of saying an average. I've asked MPAC to provide an average assessment increase due to phase-in, and it's very difficult for them to do just for one type of property. So, you know, the growth for the municipality was 1.2%.
Yes.
So growth that's 1.2% that you get right off the bat without increasing anybody else's taxes, which is nice.
Yes.
You know, and then we've also had the new service that we are now going to be providing starting this year with the Planner Economic Development Officer. So if you factored that all in, the new service and the OPP increase, our actual budget actually the levy went down if it wasn't for those two items.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So we will go kind of by the book, just quickly page by page, and then we'll hopefully this will be the end of the budget. So like I said, on page 2, there's the never-ending budget. Yeah, there's the table of contents. Basically, I put in about comments from the treasurer, and you know, I did have a lot of help from staff, CAO, all department heads, the chair of corporate services, also outside contracts. So I really want to thank everybody who helped me with this budget. It does take a lot of time to get proper numbers and a lot of discussions. So I do want to thank each and every one of you. I will basically inform everybody just kind of a little bit about our 2015 changes in the office and kind of how this all affects the budget as well. We had staff changes downstairs. We had a new admin assistant starting in October. We had actually our public works staffing complement decreased from September to the end of the year. We also had an addition to the landfill site. We had a new landfill operator starting November 2015. We had some big changes in council. We had council iPads now, which learning technology is sometimes hard, but I think everybody seems to be on board now. And basically there was one change for the roads department last year, and that was kind of a last-minute decision. We decided to do the repairs on Magnesium Road with the gas tax funds. So just to kind of highlight some changes for 2015. Now on page 4, just a little bit about the Ontario Municipal Partnership Fund. In the graph, you'll show that we are decreasing slightly each and every year. This year, we decreased by $6,300 from 2015 payment. So, you know, we do rely on that funding. Most likely, it will continue to decrease. but, so we'll have to make changes, think about that. We'll have less funding most likely next year and the year after and the year after. Page number 5 is the assessment growth, and it does show that we do have an assessment growth of 1.2%. And it shows up there the residential and just the different taxable classes and how it was affected. Okay. Page 6. Daryl, this is where you might want to, this will touch what you were asking. So 2016 represents the 4th year in the phased-in assessment from the 2013 to the 2016 year. Okay, that's okay. And these taxes were based on the January 1st, 2012 assessments. So, as we stated earlier, the impact on the tax rate after considering the increased levy of 7.2% is that the township tax rate will decrease by 3.91% in 2016. So as Charlene stated, on a $100,000 assessment, residential assessment, a decrease of $21.67
Per $100,000.
per $100,000 assessment. Okay. It should be noted too that the education rates dropped, so that does help the overall tax rate, as well as the county rates have dropped. So on the bottom, I gave you each a graph for 2016 tax impact. Total, it's based on a $100,000 assessment for 3 classes, the residential, the commercial, and the industrial. So you'll see that each class looks like they'll be receiving a decrease in their rates.
The rates will decrease, but not necessarily their taxes due to the phased-in assessment. So
phased-in assessment. Like if it stayed the same, if they didn't have any increased assessment, then this is what they would see.
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so on page 7, I have listed here that the 2016 township total budget will be $8,528,527, and that represents an increase of 4.3% over the 2015 budget requirements. I've also listed here a graph showing the residential tax rates from 2010 to 2016, as well as a levy comparison. Any questions on that? Which one? Okay, so the levy is the amount of money that we need to balance the budget. Okay, so this year we needed 7.2% to balance the budget. Okay, so to make sure that the revenues and the expenses equal.
Well, the levy requirement is what is made up of all of the other revenues. So this is just taxation revenue, just the amounts that are raised by taxation.
And then the tax rates, that's what you see on your tax bill.
And it's a really convoluted calculation.
Yes. Okay, and I just wanted to inform council that the capital projects that have been identified in 2016 represent just a little over $2 million of the overall budget.
Okay, any other questions?
Okay, so page number 9, I'm just giving you a summary of the revenues. So as you can see on that graph, 55.20% is what we collect out of the revenues from taxation. So municipalities heavily rely on revenue from taxation.
Any questions? Expenditures?
Okay, so the expenditures is on page 10, and this includes the capital. Hold on, let me just go back up there. Okay, so on this graph, you see that the roads, the Transportation Services Department, which is the roads, accounts for 46.05% of the expenditures for the township. Questions?
Councillor McLaughlin?
Could I go back to page 9 where you have reserves and 12.77%?
Yes, that's reserves that we're pulling in to pay for some of the expenditures.
So when you say we're pulling it in, are we putting
We're withdrawing out of the reserves.
out of reserves, are we putting some money back into reserves
Yes.
in different?
Yes, we are.
That'll show up later, okay?
Councillor Olmsted?
Do we have any idea how this compares to nearby regions in terms of percentages?
I haven't done any comparison, no.
For things like the amount of money required from taxation, or the big one for me is protective services, requiring 19% of the total expenditures. I'd like to understand how we compare to
Yeah, we can look into that, for sure.
municipalities in their region.
Okay, we can look into that.
And that's only if they report them, right? I mean, you have to kind of cipher through the budget process. Some actually report them, some don't. But, yeah,
They
that's
report
something
them, yeah.
that if you want, Marcia can probably put together.
Okay,
We had a copy of theirs.
sure. And you want to focus more on the protective services, or just all expenses?
I think just in general, how
Okay.
are we stacking up?
Okay, no problem, we can do that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, summary of capital, page 11.
Okay, so page 11, here's a summary of the capital. 75% of our capital will be done through the Public Works Department. As you can see, the waste management and the building, they don't have any capital this year.
Any questions? Councillor Mackay?
Yeah, if you have Park and Rec and then you have a rinks, wouldn't they be together? Shouldn't they be together?
I just did this one, well, they can be, but I just did this one as, I have to check on that one. Yeah, I just did, now that one, I could have put it in, but I just separated it to show the Cobden Arena. So out of that 78,000, $10,000 of that is council agreed to put money towards a drawing for the grant, as well as $68,365 for the Beachburg Accessibility Grant Project.
Okay.
Okay, reserves and reserve funds.
Okay, page 12. This is the reserves. At the end of the year, let's see, do I have a detailed for Daryl? Just a second. No, I don't have a detailed for Daryl. But this is the reserve. So we have pulled out money from the reserves to pay for some of the projects. But do remember, some of the money that is being pulled out of reserves, such as the big one for the gas tax, these are projects that have been on budgets and now they'll be completed. So we will, like for the corner view, because we're pulling that out. So we will get projects done. So that's kind of why that we have less now at the end of the year than what we did for 2015.
And I think a lot of that as well is projects that were previously budgeted for and are now being done, and that's why it seems to accumulate into 1 year. That hopefully we get all these projects done, and a good chunk of it is coming from federal gas tax.
That's right.
Councillor McLaughlin?
I'm just wondering about the sand dome. I know we had 120,000 in reserves before. Is that, no, that's, and now you're pulling out 235, is that correct?
It's actually 350.
350 is coming out, so that's,
If that project gets done,
Yes.
then yes, it will be pulled out of reserves.
okay, and
Equipment
that's
reserve.
calculated in?
Yes, it is, yeah.
So it's calculated that it's coming out of the reserves?
Yes.
Okay, it just,
And it won't, if any projects that we've designated not to come out of reserves, they'll stay in there. You know, and if, like, I just mean if the projects don't get done, they'll stay in reserves. So no money will be
well,
pulled
we're
out.
hoping that they
We're
all
hoping that,
get done.
well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Continue.
Okay, so page 13, I just gave you a little bit of a history here on reserves per household. So we're about $951.32 per household.
Now, if you took the budgeted number at the end of the year of 2.629756 for 2016, it would be a different number than 951 for 2016. That's the beginning of 2016 and the end of 2015. You have the same amount for reserves. I'm just saying this now, sorry, Marcia. At the end of 2015,
Oh, yes, yes.
and then 2016, so you should probably
change
use
that
the
number.
2,629,756.
Yes, I will. Yeah,
So it's going to be drastically reduced.
yes, it will be. I don't have a calculator here in front of me.
Do
Down
a
in
quick
front of you?
calculation here for you. 2629756 divided by 3545. 741.82. Per household.
Per household now.
So if everybody just wants to make a note of that in their booklet, rather than have Marcia prepare a whole booklet again, 741.82.
So perhaps in the 2017 budget, we should be thinking about putting more reserves away, budgeting for reserves. Now, the provincial average is 1,100.
Yeah, the Eastern Ontario provincial average as of 2014 was $1,100 per household. Any questions? Okay.
Okay,
Tax rates.
so page 14 is the tax rates for each class. So it will show you what we will collect from municipal, what we'll collect for the county, and what we'll collect for education.
Any questions?
Okay, so basically, last year I didn't put the sewer budget in, I kind of kept it separate, but this year I've decided to put the sewer budget information in as well. So for 2015, the sewer budget, just to recap, we had a sewer deficit of $36,349.89, and that amount had to be recovered from the sewer users of Cobden. So the 2016 sewer projects, we are looking at purchasing a generator for the lift station in the amount of $50,000, as well as paying off $40,000 of the unfinanced Casson Place project on Highway 17 out of the sewer reserve. So, the 2016 sewer rate, discussion surrounded the sewer rates during multiple sewer budget workshops, and Council has decided to accept the proposed budget with an annual increase for Cobden sewer at 12.8% increase. Now, in that increase, there will be a service fee of $20, and this is the first time fee that we've implemented. It's not above the 12.8. So basically, I've just kind of highlighted it there for you to show you. So the new sewer rate is going to be $191.57 per quarter, and we're going to have a capital. It's going to be called a capital cost fee of $38.31, and that's 20% of the new sewer rate. And then the $153.26 will be the sewer rate. And that increase will be an increase of $21.74 per quarter.
Okay, any questions? Okay.
And I've also listed the sewer budget figures for you on page 16 and 17. And then I've put in the budget the 2016 water budget information as well. So in 2015, Cobden had a water deficit in the amount of $28,638.43. The Beachburg Water had a surplus of $13,139.39, and Haley had a deficit of $31,184.96. So what we've decided on one of our budget discussions was to share the cost between all the users. The capital cost between all the users. So what we've done is we've taken, and I just showed you here, is we've taken the aqua bill, and there was a percentage figured out compared to the amount of users, and 49% of the aqua bill will be billed towards Cobden, 47.5% of the aqua bill will be billed towards Beachburg, and 3.5% of the aqua bill will be billed towards Haley's.
Councillor McLaughlin?
So, I assume, and this is, that 49% of the total users are from Cobden? Is that
Yes.
how it works?
Yes.
Yeah, and 47.5%. So it's a user pay, for my language?
Yes.
Would be the way I would look at it. So each person pays the same amount per,
That's right.
to the total aqua bill.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 2016 water rates, again, quite a little bit of talk around the rates, obviously. What council has come up with is an 8.3% increase for Cobden water users, a 3% increase for Beachburg water users, and a 1% for Haley water users. And on top, not on top, but as well as we discussed a service fee of 40%, which will be implemented in the cost, not an additional fee, it's just implemented in the cost.